foolish mortals.
Hello there. Are you insane? Get out of here!
Remain seated with your seatbelt fastened.
Right, off you go. Welcome to Average Joe Orlando. That's right. Welcome, theme park goers. It is the most wonderful time of the year. No, it is not holiday season. It's spooky season. I am a huge fan of Halloween, always have been, and Orlando does it pretty well, and I think that's why we needed to do an entire episode. So welcome to Joe's Deep Dive on Orlando's Halloween events. Today we are going to deep dive 3 of the Halloween events happening here in Orlando. Halloween Horror Nights, my personal favorite, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, and SeaWorld's Howl-O-Scream. So we're going to deep dive what happens at each one, and especially since the Halloween season starts pretty early down here as well. So I know whenever I start decorating my house in August, a lot of my friends up north go, "What are you doing?" And I go, "It is Halloween." Yes, it might be 95 degrees out here, and schools may still be in up north, and everybody's still thinking it's not even Labor Day yet. But guess what? In Orlando, Halloween has started, so get out those Bath & Body Works candles and find your pumpkin spice latte, and let's go. For those of you not familiar, Joe's Deep Dive, we like to deep dive the event or theme park or attraction or anything that's going on. So this is kind of a deep dive look into more about the event, so hopefully you learn something from it. I want to do this in order of not only my favorite, but also of the oldest event to the most recent here in Orlando. So, of course, we're going to start with Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando. Now, that started in 1991. The first year started as Fright Nights, and it was only a 3-night event. It had one house. The following year, they did rebrand it as Halloween Horror Nights, which it is still known to today. And that has been happening every year, except the year 2000. Unfortunately, that kind of ruined the sequence. So it was always easy for me to remember, Halloween Horror Nights 2018 was the best one for me. That was my favorite. What year was that? Oh, yeah, that must have been 28, because it kind of went in order since it started in 1991. However, since 2000, they did a pause on it. That was the year they did just 2 houses or 3, and then they did a bunch of plexiglass, and the characters had masks on, so kind of lost a lot of effect. So 2021, they brought it back fully. However, they did mask and everything, so nothing like seeing Beetlejuice standing there with a face mask on, so a character that is supposed to be dead worrying about COVID. It didn't really work. So it's exciting that it is back, and it is now back with 10 houses, and this year is running for 48 nights. So to think about that, 1 house to 10 houses now, 3 nights to 48 nights. They've also expanded the event. So the event has, it goes on over in Hollywood. I got to go over there in 2019 for the event. Definitely do it a little bit differently over there. I do think Orlando's is a little bit better. However, it is really neat to get to go see it over in Hollywood. A lot of times they like to take the same houses as here, and either they do them the same year or they do different versions of them. So it is fun to get to see. For instance, last year, The Last of Us, we did it in Orlando, and then they did it over in Hollywood. I actually think the Hollywood one looked better. So it is fun to get to see. They also did a sequel house. So part 1 for the monsters was here in Orlando. Part 2 was over there. So it's fun that they both kind of connect. They also brought back the Terror Tram over there in Hollywood. So the Terror Tram is where you take that classic movie attraction where you go through the sets on the back lot, but then the doors open and you get out and you get to walk through the sets. And it's the only time of the year that you really get to go through like the War of the World sets. And now you get to go through Nope. So it's kind of a neat and unique attraction. Definitely hoping to head out there one day in the future. They also have them at Universal Singapore, Halloween Horror Nights, and then also Universal Japan. Each one of those are completely different. Japan, from what I've watched online, actually starts the houses during the day and is not a separately ticketed event. So Halloween Horror Nights, if you aren't aware, is a separately ticketed event. They do it differently. They clear the park and then they reopen it. So those nights, it usually closes around 5:30. It's only in the Studios Park now. They did do some years where it was at Islands and they crossed it over to both, but it is only at the Studios Park. So if you were in that park, you do have to leave However, if you have a stay and scream ticket, which is pretty clever, you get to stay in the park in a corral. So basically they corral off areas of the park where you'll scan your stay and scream ticket, and then you can go and wait in there, and you get to be some of the first ones in. So there's different zones around the park, and you could ask the team members in there. So for instance, if you stay in the New York area of the park over by Finnegan's, they will corral you in, you hang out there. The bad part about it is you're kind of just hanging out in the sun for an hour waiting. However, then they'll walk you to the houses that open first, and then they pace the houses that open. And this is just so that they can get them all ready, since there is such detailed makeup for everybody and detailed costumings. They'll stagger the houses. So starting around, I'd say around 6:30, they'll start opening some of the houses. So you'll see in that area by the sound stages, one of them will open, then maybe 15, 20 minutes later, another one, 30 minutes, another one, so that they can kind of start spreading them out. That is a great way to go and see those houses if you want to not have to buy express. So they do a lot of different passes for Halloween Horror Nights, and they could range in price, but they could also range in experience. So they do express passes where you could buy it for just that night, and you get to go and you could use them one time for every house. Or you can do an RIP tour, which is a play on the VIP tour. And either they have two different options. They have one where you could join a group and they'll walk you through each of the houses. You get to do every single house and all the shows. And then it runs about, I want to say about 6 hours. Or you could do the unlimited personal VIP, which you get to actually bring 10 people with you, and you get to do whatever you want. So you have the entire night till closing with your guide. And if you just want to say like you love this one house and you just want to keep going around and doing it, you can go for it, which is a really nice one. They also do a behind the screams tour now. So if you are scared, or if you are just like me and a giant nerd and love all the details that go into the houses, these are lights on tours that they do. And the lights on tours allow you to go in during the day with a guide, and they walk you around and show how everything works, because these sets are lots of money and lots of detail go into them. And each scare is calculated with a different sound effect and trigger and lighting. So it really gets to break down everything for you. And those sell out pretty far in advance. Also, for ticketing options, they also offer limited tickets too. So you can get the Frequent Fear passes, Frequent Fear Plus. They have all the different ones that will allow you to go either every night but Friday and Saturday, or every night but Saturday, which is the one I always do because Saturdays are crazy there. Or you can do every single night. You could also add Express every single night. A lot of people will say they need to do Express, so you cannot really do it, unfortunately, and do all 10 houses in one night unless you really don't mind, first off, waiting long, and secondly, if you don't mind getting there early and staying till 10 a.m. I did have friends last year that came down. They got there and they did the stay and scream. And you could buy either, if you don't have a pass to be there during the day, they do sell a stay and scream ticket, which allows you in the park. So you could wait in the corral, go start running to those houses, or walking safely, I should say. And you could head over and do a bunch of the houses while it's not as busy. The best thing to do is play around with the app. They have the Halloween Horror Nights app incorporated on the Universal app, where you could check out the wait times and kind of play around and see what the waits are to kind of avoid the crowd. You'll definitely notice when the park opens, people love to go right to the first house they see over by the Minions. However, if you head towards the back and kind of do the opposite, you might end up avoiding some of the crowds too. So the Halloween Horror Nights, as I mentioned, features 10 houses. There's also scare zones, and these are all new every year. All the houses are new every year as well. And then they switch them out, so the scare zones will be all around, and that's basically an area that you walk through where you're going to get scared. So you cannot walk around the park and avoid people, or avoid the actors, or as they call them, scare actors. They will find you in those different areas. Now, they can't chase you. They don't run. You shouldn't be running. They don't touch you, and you should definitely not be touching the actors as well. But they will change around those scare zones each season. But they usually always feature one with chainsaws, which is fun. And then there's also an icon. Not every year they do the icon, but the icon is more of a character that will oversee the event and kind of be the face of the event and tie the storylines together. So it's always fun to remember which year. Oh, 26, that was the year with Chance. And then they also have new houses every year. And every year, love to rank the houses. Plan on doing it at the end of this season. Again, ranking all the best houses. I know last year, every time you go through, it's a little different. It depends how you get the hits for the actors. Unfortunately, they do it more conga line style, just because it is so busy. So sometimes you get to see the scare happening before you get there. However, every run through is different. You might see something that you didn't see last time. As the season goes on, they might add things, they might change things, they might take away things. So every night is really different. So it's always fun to do the houses more than once because something that might be your least favorite house might turn into your favorite house. So as I mentioned, they do clear the park and then they do reopen it. So they do their opening ceremony, usually around 6:30, and then now the event runs till 2 a.m. I remember when I first started going, my first year was Halloween Horror Nights 21, and that was the theme Lady Luck, and it was all a gambling theme because it was 21, and which I guess is more drinking, not gambling. I don't make the rules, but they did that one for 2021, and it only ran until midnight. So now they expanded it till sometimes 1 a.m., then 2 a.m. Now every night is still 2 a.m. So if you could stay up that late, the last hour is actually a great time to go because usually people cannot last that long. I know I do not stay until 2 a.m., but that's a great time to end up hitting a lot of the houses too as well. They also started doing themed food at this event too. It's become more of a food event and doing a lot of great themed food throughout, which is a lot of fun. Last year they did The Last of Us, and they had the survival area where they had a pasta that was inside a can, and you got to keep the rations can, it was considered, and it was a mushroom ravioli because the fungus from mushrooms for Last of Us. They did a whole really good theme for this one. So every year they've been upping their food game, theming their food carts. However, the food lines get very long as well. However, it did add more to the event by making it just about the houses or the scare zones. It's more about now the food and that whole element of trying new food. Also shows. So they like to do different shows. I will never forgive them for getting rid of Bill and Ted because Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure was the best show that they've ever done. That was a comedy show that would more improv, and then they would make fun of things that happened in the past year, and the show would evolve with the season as different things happened in pop culture. And the best part about that was it was the break from the scary. So you would have hardcore just getting jump scares all night, and then all of a sudden you'd have a nice little break where you get to go sit and laugh, and then, as they would always like to say, watching sexy people dance. So a lot of just kind of a little more on the raunchy adult side, but also just a really fun event and a fun show. They've recently replaced it in the past years with Nightmare Fuel, which to me is the same show. You've seen it once, you've seen it 100 times. And while I'm baking in Florida, I really don't want to be in a show that is covered in fire, just because it's just so hot. And it's not funny, so it's kind of like just the same thing. So to me, you need that break. They did in years past the Rocky Horror, which they would do an abridged version of the show where it was more of a sing-along, and they would act out different things. So like in the opening scene, they'd come around with the water guns in the audience. That was always fun. So they're always changing up the shows. I just would like to see more of a comedy show come back, or just something to change up the monotony of the nights. The rides are open, not all of them, but a few of the rides do stay open. And in recent years, they've also added the Death Eaters over to Diagon Alley. So if you go over to the Harry Potter section, years past, J.K. Rowling didn't allow them to do anything over there. So it was just kind of a quiet area of the park. But it's been very nice. They've added the Death Eaters from the books and the movies. So they're walking around, and then the lighting is different. There's a lot of green lighting and smoke, and they come around, and they'll interact with you and do a little show on the stage. So it kind of moves the crowds over there as well, which kind of is a nice little change. So every year something different, which is really nice about Halloween Horror Nights, something new. Tickets do start around $83 for one night. As the season goes on, they will get more expensive because it does get more busy. And then also certain days of the week, such as Fridays and Saturdays especially, are going to be more expensive. Then that also depends on the pricing for the express passes. The more expensive the express pass is, probably the more expensive the night's going to be as well. However, it does run generally Wednesday through Sunday throughout the season and will run till November, which is nice. So this year it does start in the last week of August and does run till the first week of November. So a rather long season of those 48 nights for Halloween Horror Nights. Next up, let's talk about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party over at Walt Disney World. So Mickey's Not So Scary started in 1995, an after-hours event. Now, the park doesn't close the same way as Universal does. It is an upsell ticket, so you do have to pay for it on top of it. So if you are buying a ticket for that park that day, be advised the park's going to close at 6, so you have to get out. What they do differently than Universal, instead of clearing the park and then starting or corralling, They do wristbands. So you're allowed to come in about 2 hours before the event. The event actually starts around 7 o'clock and runs till midnight. However, starting around 6, if you don't have a wristband, you will not be allowed on the attractions. So they'll start clearing out the park. And what they'll do is they'll set up cast members in different lands, and you won't be able to pass them unless you show your wristband. So if you're coming in the park and you already spent your day in there, they'll have locations to get your wristband for the night. Or if you're coming into the park, they'll have a separate entrance for you to get your wristband. And if you want to go on an attraction after 6, you just have to start showing your wristband, and they'll start clearing out the park from the back to the front. It sounds like it doesn't work, but they've been doing it for years, so it must. However, this is a limited capacity event. Throughout the years, a major complaint has been that it is busier. They've definitely raised the capacity for the events. However, unlike Universal, the entire park is open for rides. So it's not select rides. That whole park is open. And generally, the rides are all less than 30 minutes. So it's really nice if you want to ride something like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And during the day, it's usually about 90 minutes. Afterwards, it is going to be a little bit less, probably around 30 minutes or less. They also like to theme a lot of the rides too. So in past years, they have themed over the teacups with special lighting. They've added actors to Pirates of the Caribbean. No, don't quote me. They change it every year. And then they've done different things on Space Mountain where they've done different sound effects. They also have specialty characters that you will normally not see out in the park, which is fun. So a lot of people like to see like Jack Skellington, and they'll have them out during this event. They also do a specialty parade called the Boo to You Parade. And they do this every year. The event is generally the exact same every year. The Boo to You Parade has been going on for a long time and is a classic Disney parade, probably one of everybody's favorites. Boo to You is known for the soundtrack, but it's also known for having the gravediggers from the Haunted Mansion, and they'll come and they'll scrape their shovels and bang them around. It starts off with the Headless Horseman riding a real horse, holding his pumpkin head down Main Street. They'll have a specialty fireworks show for this event. And then everybody's favorite is a newer addition in the past few years, the Hocus Pocus Villain Spectacular, which takes the Sanderson sisters and a bunch of the villains doing a stage show. The biggest difference, not only is this more of a family event when Halloween Horror Nights is more for adults, you get to dress in costume for this event. And like Halloween Horror Nights, you aren't only not allowed to. This one at Mickey's Not So Scary, you're encouraged to. And for me, going to this event in the past, the event is the exact same thing every year. They might change up some of the food offerings or the character greetings. However, it's essentially the same event. The fun part is getting to see everybody's costume. So people go pretty hard over here. Lots of very creative costumes. The problem is it's hot. So a lot of the costumes, I know I did one with my friends a few years ago, and we all had like these crazy wigs on, and it wasn't very comfortable. So it's definitely one of those, it's great, but it's going to be warm. You also get trick-or-treating, which is really fun. So there's free candy, and there are trick-or-treating stops all around the park, and they give you a bag, and you can go around as much as you like, filling up all the bags and doing trick-or-treating. So as I mentioned, it's definitely more of a family-friendly event. However, it's going to be a little bit more money to start from a regular base ticket price. So they start around $119 per person, and this will go up as the season goes. It's not every night. It will be select nights, since they do have to have nights for the guests that aren't going. So you'll have to check if you're coming for the season what nights there are, and they do sell out. They do start very, very early. This year they start August 9th. That's the earliest they've ever started. I love Halloween, as I mentioned, and I'm fine for it being early. However, if it ever creeps into July, I can't get behind that. Let's have our summer. I even like end of like August is a little close for me. I like September, but August 9th it starts and it runs until Halloween. And as I mentioned, it goes from 7 o'clock to midnight. So it is a shorter event, definitely much shorter. So bang for your buck. You get more, I would say, over at Halloween Horror Nights. However, this one is definitely more family friendly, and kids aren't going to stay out. Hopefully not till 2 o'clock in the morning anyway. Midnight might even be pushing it. But they'll do the parade more than once. They'll do the show numerous times, and then they'll do the fireworks once each night. So there is a lot going on, and you could definitely fill up your night. You just have to really pace out what you want to do, because you don't want to spend an hour waiting for a certain character, and then all of a sudden you only got 3 more hours left for this event, and you just paid $120. But Mickey's Not So Scary on select nights over at the Magic Kingdom Park in Walt Disney World. Last up, I would say the newest event going on in Orlando is SeaWorld's Howl-O-Scream. So it's been going on for 3 years, and it's modeled after the one over at Busch Gardens. over here in Orlando, we have Busch Gardens Tampa, which has Howl-O-Scream, which does it much larger. So this one was more of a test, and it keeps going and keeps growing. So this is over at SeaWorld. And SeaWorld Orlando features 5 houses, at least for this year, their 4th year, and 4 of them are going to be new. They have 2 shows, which have remained the same since opening. They have 7 scare zones. 3 of them are new. 4 of them will be repeats. And then they also do what I think they do the best is the bars. They theme their bars. They have 5 theme bars, and 2 of them are new this year. So for Howl-O-Scream, much smaller than Halloween Horror Nights, but definitely a different vibe than Halloween Horror Nights. And it's also a lot less expensive. So it's like a smaller, more, I'd say, campy version of Halloween Horror Nights. It does run select nights only. So in September, it only runs Fridays and Saturdays. And then in October, it'll start Friday through Sunday. And then closer to Halloween, we'll go from Thursday through Sunday. And it'll run from about 7 o'clock till midnight. They do more of the phased closing style. So they'll start closing down sections of the park and start pushing the day guests towards the front. And then they'll have a separate entrance, which is really interesting and a really smart way to operationally do it. Unlike Universal, who unfortunately can't do this operationally, they have a special event entrance and a whole different side where they bring in the guests. So as they close one side and push the day guests towards the front of the regular park, I don't know why I'm speaking with my hands. If you could see me right now, I'm like, over to your right, you have this. Over to your left. The Italian in me. Okay, over to the right, they'll have a special entrance for this park, which is fantastic. They also have a lot of different scares. They have the ones that will roll around on their knees, and they'll kind of come up and try to scare you. They also have a really fun scare. Spoiler alert, if you go to the front of the park, there's usually a map, and when you look at it, the map actually will drop, and there'll be a character behind it, which is really neat. They'll also do, as I mentioned, the theme bars. And one of the bars, my favorite, is, and they've done it every year, and it's coming back this year for the 4th, or is back right now for the 4th, is the Longshoreman Tavern. And this is an improv troupe, which will actually speak with everybody, and they'll do sea shanties, and they'll talk to you and incorporate you into different songs. The first year I went to this event, I definitely spent, I think, the entire night there, and they were so fun, and the improv, and if there's no kids around, they will definitely make it more adult themed, and it was just a lot of fun and kind of changes up the event from going through just houses. Because I will say the houses are definitely much more low budget if you're used to Halloween Horror Nights. The scare zones are kind of more so the same and very dark. The shows have been going on every year, but the bars are kind of where it's at for this event, where they kind of make it a little more unique and different, and a different vibe for this event. So Howl-O-Scream at SeaWorld, definitely a different feel, and to me, it's more of a one and done. If you did it, you don't really need to go back because they kind of repeat a lot of things. However, definitely something worth checking out, especially if you love Halloween like I do. When it comes to pricing, they are definitely your best bet if you want to do a Halloween adventure, but you want to kind of watch the dollar. Tickets start around $33. They're always on sale. They'll always be offering a different sale. As I mentioned, though, there are select nights that they only run it on, and it only runs from 7 o'clock to midnight. However, for the money, it's worth trying out. Look online, see if you can find them on sale. They always have them on a different discount. They usually do an unlimited ticket too, which is usually very affordable. But out of all of them, this will definitely be your most affordable event. A few fun facts to round out the episode. Halloween Horror Nights always begins planning the year prior to the following year's event. So once this one's over, they're going to start planning around next year, and they have a whole team. That is definitely a dream job. As I mentioned, they have created original icons, which now have become staples of the event. And over at Mickey's Not So Scary, you can get so much unlimited candy. You could actually, I've done this in the past, you could just keep filling up bags and asking for more bags and just keep going around. I've had so much candy coming back. I am not a candy eater. I used it for when the trick-or-treaters came to my house. So you can save some money there. They also have allergy-friendly centers too. So if you have an allergy, just see a cast member and they could direct you there to get an allergy-friendly treats as well. So everybody gets included. But as always, I will see you in the parks, or as I should say, see you in the fog. Thanks for taking a ride with Average Joe Orlando.
You made it! I knew you would.
Is everyone okay? Hope you still want to open an account.
Say cheese. See you later.
Thanks, everybody. You were brilliant.
At this time, gather up your personal belongings and take your small grubs by their grubby little hands as you exit. Thank you.